So last night I was able to get the suspension gearbox actually turning and freeing up, and I was able to release the control arms off the upper rebounds in the front and raise the back end of the car up considerably high. And I'll show you a clip of me doing that now. So I've got some good news. Earlier tonight, I was able to break the gearbox free, and it rolls pretty smoothly right now. I mean, I can do it with one finger. It was tough at first, but it got looser eventually. You can see on the back of this our attempt to make a little mount for my impact to go on. That did not work, and so we made an attachment for the drill that just mimics the end of the electric motor. And as you can see, it works really well. And you will be able to see the torsion bars turn if you watch closely enough at the bottom. So yeah, that is really good news, and hopefully by the end of the night I'll have the suspension in place to where I can start disassembling it later this weekend. So I'll catch you guys up on that later. It was off camera, but you'll see a time lapse of me trying to do it, but I put my foot on the front frame and jumped around a little bit, and it broke free a little bit from where it was. It's been sitting so long, it wouldn't surprise me if it was just frozen in place, which it was. And so now you can see it's off the front, the upper rebound. And so I'm gonna go a little bit more, but I can't go too far. But if you run the motor too far, you can damage them, the torsion bars, by running them too far out of place. And you can see here, it's now almost touching the frame, which is just about perfect. It's what I need. And so I'm gonna go a little bit farther tonight, but I'm gonna keep it around there and not go too far and press my luck. But yeah, it's working out great so far. I said last night that since I got the gearbox working, I'd start disassembling the front suspension. And that's probably not going to happen until about 2 weeks from now. And because I'm going to be leaving after this weekend and be gone for 2 weeks. And I want to get the front suspension done in one go. And we're also having really cold weather right now. And I'm going to be painting parts, and paint doesn't really stick well to stuff when it's really cold out. So hopefully in 2 weeks it'll be a little warmer out and I'll be able to do that. But as for now, you can see kind of back here, I'm actually going to be doing some other stuff on the car. This weekend I got a brake line kit that I'm going to be installing. And you can see the underside of the car here. I'm going to be running new brake lines over the differential and then up the side of the car here to the front master cylinder. And then I'll hopefully replace these older brake lines here. It's just better to do that so you can trust it. So I'm at the back of the car here, and the first brake line I'm gonna be doing is the one going over the rear differential. You can kind of see it there. And all I'm gonna be doing is using this little brake bender tool here, and I bought a brake line kit that came pre-flared with all the correct bolts in them and correct line width. And I'm just gonna be following the diagram here, plugging it in. So let's see how this goes. You can see here I just took the rear brake line off, and you can see I had to replace it because there is a crimp right after the bolt that was not allowing brake fluid to pass through. There's the old one compared to the new one. And it was just the T-connector there, the brake cylinder over there, and then a small bolt on top of the differential that it was connected to. You know, so not that challenging. But I'm gonna be bending up the new one here, and the new one is a little bit shorter than the old one. So I just gotta be careful with that. And I just gotta get it up and over the differential, and it should just be a straight shot to the brake cylinder over there. So you can see I've been at this about an hour and a half, and I have the rear brake lines in right there, and you can see across the differential. It wasn't very hard, it was just time consuming. You can see over there, I went down to the clip on the axle, then up and over the differential. And then the one from the T connector to the driver's side was a little long, so I had to circle it around itself and then come back to the T connector, which worked out fine. I've got everything tightened down, and I think I'm gonna call it a night. It's around 12:30 right now. Later this weekend, I might do some more brake lines up front, and then I might work on some of the rims as well. So we'll see what happens later, and I'll catch you guys in the morning. So it's the next day, and the brake line I'm gonna be working on right now is this one right here. And it goes from the master cylinder to the brake light pressure switch. And this one is fairly corroded near the master cylinder, and it kind of leaks. So I'd like to get rid of all the leaks coming out of the master cylinder, in which replacing this would be a necessity. But the other ones look kind of bad, but they're really solid steel, especially the ones under the frame. And so I'm gonna be working on replacing this right now, and I'll catch you guys up when I'm working on it. So I just got the line off right here, and you can see how corroded it was, if it was gonna focus. There's actually a slight indent right where the line enters the bolt, and that's where it's leaking from, but you can just see how corroded this was, and it definitely needed replacing. So I'm about to bend up the new one, which is a little bit longer, just like kind of all the other ones that came with the kit. And so I got to make room for it somehow, so I'm probably going to be going back and forth with the bends on it to try to shorten it up before it gets to the pressure switch. So I'll leave it off there, and I'll go bend the line. So I just got the brake line installed, and you can see here, I had to kind of go up and around the steering column and box there, coming out of the master cylinder and then to the pressure switch. And my only worry with this is right over there, you can kind of see it, is the exhaust manifold, and that might get a little hot. You don't want your brake fluid vaporizing in the lines. That way it will compress and you will not have any brakes. So I might go buy some heat shield to put around that. But it took me a while to get the bends right on this, and I had to take the wheel off the actual tool to be able to bend some of the lines at more than 90 degrees and not crimp them. And also, while I'm out here, I'm going to be doing a little bit of wiring, you can see here, and then I have a bud connector already there. You shouldn't really be doing butt connectors like this, but I'm just going to be doing this as a temporary fix. I will get around to rewiring a lot of this, hopefully in the future, after the suspension work is done. But this wire comes off the starter and heads to the suspension solenoids right here. And then from there it goes to the on-off switch for the torsion level suspension, which is in the cab right around there on the inside of the firewall. And then it goes down to the electric motor to control up and down and all that stuff. So I'm just going to be connecting it here, and then I'll probably be calling it a night after that. So I just got the wiring done, and you can see it right here. There's just one wire. I think I'm going to call it a night now. I got the brake line in. I didn't get as much as I wanted to done this weekend. I got 3 out of the 5 brake lines in that I wanted. The other one is going under the engine block right here and then over to the other side. And that's going to be a tricky one. It's got a lot of bends in it. And it's just under the motor and hard to get to see where the bends need to be. But the other one comes off the master cylinder right there and goes to the right. You can kind of see it. And then down along the frame rail to the back T connector. And it just ends there. I did not get to any of the rim work that I said I was going to, and I thought about that, and since it's so cold, I didn't want to be stripping them down to bare metal and then not painting them for a while, and then I'd have to sand them again to get rust off. So I'm just going to leave those so it's closer to being able to drive. And then hopefully in about 2 weeks, I will start suspension work, which is right now just going to be disassembling this, new bushings, painting all the parts. I got most of my frame prep done here, you can see on both sides. I'm going to be painting the frame and the bumper connector bars, you can see right there. So when I rebuild the suspension, I am doing both sides of the front, not just one side, as they both need it pretty badly. And I'll talk a little bit more about what I'm doing next. So on the topic of suspension work, I said I had brand new bushings, and I meant I have brand new bushings for pretty much everything. So upper and lower control arms, the center pivots right here, the kingpins. I have kingpin kits for both sides. I have sway bar bushings for the whole sway bar on the front. I have brand new tie rod ends that are gonna go down there. So I have everything I need to complete the front suspension, and by complete I mean completely rebuild, freshen it up a lot. I have upper and lower rebounds, those rubber pieces right there. I have a new seat for the load arm you can see down there. The only thing I'm missing is ordering shocks, which will hopefully come later, but it's not a necessity right now. I do not have any suspension parts for the rear of the car at the moment, and that's a little trickier to work on than the front, even though the front is pretty tricky as it is torsion bars. It's not coilovers or springs, which would be a lot easier to work on. But that's what I plan to do with the suspension, is just really just redo all the rubber parts, paint everything to get them rust coated, paint the frame so it looks nice and it's not so dirty as it is. And then once the suspension work is done, I can hopefully move on to getting this car closer to drive. And to do that, I need to put the 2 other brake lines in. I need to do rim work. I need to do a lot of work, but hopefully by the end of the summer, I will be able to drive this thing down the road. But we'll see you from there, and hopefully in 2 weeks, you'll see a video pop up of the suspension work that I'm doing. So I'll see you guys then.